Yashodanandana Pratyanadandana Yashodanandana Pratyanadandana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari jāṭhara-adhamau kundabihati Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajikacharya Astuta Visadasi Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Ki Jai Sri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopi Go Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Gira Govardhan Ki Jai Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Bol Samaveta Bhaktavinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 14, Pregnancy of Deity in the Evening. Text 39. Please repeat after me. Bhaviṣyatas tava abhadrau abhadre jāṭhara-adhamau lokān sa-pālāṁs trīṁś caṇḍi muhur ākran-dayiṣyataḥ bhaviṣyatas tavābhadrāv bhaviṣyatas tavābhadrāv abhadre jāṭhara-adhamau abhadre jāṭhara-adhamau lokān sa-pālāṁs trīṁś lokān sa-pālāns trīṁś muhur ākran-dayiṣyataḥ muhur ākran-dayiṣyataḥ bhaviṣyatas tavābhadrāv abhadre jāṭhara-adhamau lokān sa-pālān trīṁś muhur ākran-dayiṣyataḥ bhaviṣyatas tavābhadrāv abhadre jāṭhara-adhamau lokān sa-pālān trīṁś muhur ākran-dayiṣyataḥ bhaviṣyatas tavābhadrāv abhadre jāṭhara-adhamau lokān sa-pālān trīṁś muhur ākran-dayiṣyataḥ. Ladies, bhaviṣyatas tavābhadrāv abhadre jāṭhara-adhamau lokān sa-pālān trīṁś muhur ākran-dayiṣyataḥ bhaviṣyatas tavābhadrāv jāṭhara-adhamau lokān sa-pālān trīṁś muhur ākran-dayiṣyataḥ bhaviṣyatas will take birth. Tava, your, abhadrau, two contemptuous sons. Abhadre, O unlucky one, jāṭhara-adhamau, born of a condemned womb, lokān, all planets, sa-pālān, with their rulers, trīn, caṇḍi, haughty one, muhur, constantly, ākran-dayiṣyataḥ, will cause lamentation. This is Kaśyapa Muni speaking. He's very angry. Actually, he should be angry with himself also, because he's implicated. He says, speaking to his wife Diti, "O haughty one, you will have two contemptuous sons born of your condemned womb. Unlucky woman, they will cause constant lamentation to all the three worlds." Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Contemptuous sons are born of the condemned womb of their mother. In Bhagavad-gītā 140, it is said, when there is deliberate negligence of the regulative principles of religious life, the women as a class become polluted, and as a result there are unwanted children. This is especially true for boys. If the mother is not good, there cannot be good sons. The learned Kaśyapa could foresee the character of the sons who would be born of the condemned womb of Diti. The womb was condemned because of the mothers being too sexually inclined and thus transgressing all the laws and injunctions of the scriptures. In a society where such women are predominant, one should not expect good children. The verse again. Bhaviṣyatas tavābhadrāv abhadre jāṭhara-adhamau lokān sa-pālāṁs caṇḍi muhur ākran-dayiṣyataḥ. O haughty one, you will have two contemptuous sons born of your condemned womb. Unlucky woman, they will cause constant lamentation to all the worlds. So, taken out of context, this might be interpreted as a sexist statement. What Kaśyapa is saying, what Prabhupada is saying here in the Purport. But that's the thing. We shouldn't take things out of context. It's an error that very often people tend to commit. It's not the only thing that is said in the scripture that Srila Prabhupada says about these things. There are always two sides, and of course as soon as we say two sides, then we immediately start remembering the dualities of material existence. One of the probably most prominent dualities are the duality of man and woman, and it's becoming more and more strong in this age we are living in. Why is this so? Well, it has certainly something to do with the general degradation of our civilization. Even though many of the not only feminists, but also, I don't know what is the counterpart of well, we can say it like this: there are it's not only women who are feminists, there are also men who are feminists. How is that so? Because they promote the same ideas that, sexual warfare. And many of them, they make the propaganda that, yeah, things are very bad now, but they were even worse in the past. Historically, there was so much, the women, they were being exploited so badly by the men, and at least now it's better. But frankly speaking, it's completely false. I want to say this strongly. There's always been exploitation because we are in the material world. The men are exploiting the women, the men are also exploiting the men. Or at least trying to, because that's the tendency in the material world. So as soon as we single out one group of exploiters, then we immediately become victims of the duality of material existence. Just like, anyway, please forgive me, but there was some years ago a book published by a devotee about the role of women in not just in ISKCON, but in general in the modern world. And it started out with a statement: the reason why I talk about the role of women is because the role of men is commonly understood and accepted. I have to disagree. It's not true. The role of men is also not properly understood, because it goes together. You cannot separate one from the other. And if we try to do that, then we immediately become victims of the same modes of material nature. Srila Prabhupada was not a victim of the modes of material nature. Some people who take things out of context, they may conclude like this, just like what we just read here. If you take it out of context, but therefore, I want to take this opportunity to read something else written by Srila Prabhupada in the very same chapter. We only have to go a few verses back to get a more nuanced picture of, the teachings of Srila Prabhupada, the way he, the explanation, how he enlightened us about the nature of this world from a transcendental point of view. Nothing, you cannot criticize Srila Prabhupada for being under the influence of the modes of nature. some people, they do this. There was a prominent, I just heard this the other day, Gaudiya Math guru who, was criticizing Srila Prabhupada because, this very infamous statement that the brain of the women is smaller than that of the men. It's really something that Srila Prabhupada, he's been, it's so controversial. And anyway, there's a whole story behind that also. So, but that guru, that Gaudiya Math guru, he said, this is one example of how Prabhupada was, your Prabhupada was disqualified. Actually, there was a mistake, which, so like that. So these things, such criticisms are being voiced. But again, we must understand before, pointing fingers, we must understand the whole picture. We must understand the complete teachings that our founder Acharya. So therefore I'm going to read something which is from text 31 of this very same chapter. The verse translation goes like this: understanding his wife's purpose, speaking about Kaśyapa, he was obliged to perform the forbidden act, and thus, after offering his obeisances unto worshipable fate, he lay with her in a secluded place. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. It appears from the talks of Kaśyapa with his wife that he was a worshipper of Lord Shiva. And although he knew that Lord Shiva would not be pleased with him for such a forbidden act, he was obliged to act by his wife's desire. And thus he offered his obeisances unto fate. He knew that the child born of such untimely sexual intercourse would certainly not be a good child, but could not protect himself because he was too obliged to his wife. In a similar case, however, when Thakur-Haridas was tempted by a public prostitute at the dead of night, he avoided the allurement because of his perfection in Krishna consciousness. That is the difference between a Krishna conscious person and others. Kaśyapa Muni was greatly learned and enlightened, and he knew all the rules and regulations of systematic life, yet he failed to protect himself from the attack of sex desire. Thakur-Haridas was not born of a Brahmana family, nor was he himself a Brahmana, yet he could protect himself from such an attack due to his being Krishna conscious. Thakur-Haridas used to chant the holy name of the Lord 300,000 times daily. So, indirectly, Srila Prabhupada, if you caught that one, he's actually saying that Kaśyapa Muni is not Krishna conscious. So, even though it is said here, he says here that Kaśyapa was obliged to act by his wife's desire. But actually he was not obliged. He was obliged because he was not Krishna conscious. That's what Prabhupada explains. And the proof of that is that Thakur-Haridas, in a similar situation, he did not succumb to, the temptations of a prostitute. So, in other words, we should not point fingers, speaking from the male point of view. I am in a male body, so, I feel a little, how to say, obliged to speak from that point of view. And the tendency is, because we are still influenced by the modes of nature, that we speak from, the bodily dualistic point of view. So, but the truth is that nobody is in a position to point fingers at anybody else. We are all guilty, and we don't like to have to face that. But the good thing about it is that if we have the humility to admit our own fault, we are all at fault. One definition of humility is to always consider oneself in the need of rectification. That should be our permanent frame of mind, actually. We aspire for the time when now I'm okay. Nobody, can criticize me anymore. I have attained, now I can take rest. No, that's not the mood of a devotee. A devotee always considers that he has a long way to go, that there are so many anarthas he has to work on, and he's always begging for the mercy of Krishna and the devotees to help him to become qualified to get the mercy, to serve Krishna. If we can maintain that attitude, then the good thing is that there's something we can do. If we become victims of this tendency to blame others for our problems, that leaves us with no solution. Because we always need to consider two things. That there's one consideration is our sphere of interest, but that's not everything. We have to also remember that it's probably not the same as our sphere of influence. We should be concerned about the whole world and, about American politics, and I'm joking a little, but, about the danger of a third world war and so on, all the, these big things, and we like to talk about them and explain everybody how we have the solution for the world situation. But when it comes down to it, there's probably very little we can do about these things. So we have to also understand that if we are actually going to be successful in life, in our endeavors, we have to recognize, we have to become conscious of what is actually our sphere of influence. We have an influence, every one of us has some sphere of influence, an area where we can make a difference. And that's where we should be concentrating our energy. And it may be a little humbling to have to realize that our sphere of influence is maybe not so big. But it is there, and at least our own conduct, our own life, our own heart, we have some saying there. We can we can make a change, actually, if we want to. If we recognize the need to make a change in our own selves, we can do something. And that's what we should do to begin with. And then we might be surprised to find that just by trying to improve ourselves, that will actually also have an effect even on others. A good example is very valuable. And actually people, when they see somebody who is at least trying to become a person of ideal character, it is inspiring. It gives others some hope. It gives others encouragement. Yes, there are some good people in this world, at least somebody who's trying to become a good person. Don't judge a person for what he is, judge him for what he's trying to become. So, we should try to become like Haridas Thakur. I know it's somebody might say it's aiming very high, but unless we aim high, we will never make a difference in the world. There's nothing wrong with aiming high, as long as we understand that we are far from that goal, and we just have to see what we can do to move in that direction. Even a small step in the right direction is a good thing. In our movement we have very high goals, very high ideals, and sometimes somebody might feel a little discouraged by this. Honestly, having to admit how far we are away from these high goals, but we should just start moving, one step at a time. And that's what we need to focus on in our daily lives. Where are we now, and how can we move forward? What is the next step to take? We should always be on the move. Never think that now I'm okay. We are not okay. As long as we have a material body, we are not okay. We have some work to do, and we should isolate the task at hand and do something about it. That will be very helpful. That will be productive. Then we will actually make advancement. Then we will see how Krishna consciousness works. We will feel that we are making advancement. And if we are on the path and we are actually feeling that we are improving, our life is improving, our character is improving, then we will be happy, we will feel inspired to continue with our devotional service, trying to be good devotees, and that is what is needed. So quite simply stated, there's another purport. I'll read another purport. Actually, it's the hint is given here in the same purport which I was reading, the purport to text 31, and the last sentence which where Srila Prabhupada says, Thakur Haridas used to chant the holy name of the Lord 300,000 times daily. That is the goal. It's a very lofty goal, yes? But it's such a shining example for all of us. To do that, there are not enough hours in the day for an average person. 300,000 names, that is about 192 rounds, and that means if you calculate, make a quick calculation, if you take, say, about 2 hours to chant 16 rounds, how long it will take you to chant 192? About 24 hours. So, is it possible? Not possible for the common person. It means you have to, for one thing, you have to chant very fast, because you're going to have to, take care of the body a little bit, and probably you want to do a few other things. So in order to just have time to, for the most basic things, probably you'll have to take a little rest too. You'll have to chant very fast. But even then, it's a very high goal. Actually, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, before he embarked on his preaching mission, he did this for 9 years. He took a vow to chant 1 billion names. And in order to do that, he had to chant 192 rounds a day for 9 years. We can just admire, we can just worship this example, but there's not much hope that we can ever duplicate it. But the point I wanted to make here is that this is a hint, that this is our task at hand. Try to chant Hare Krishna in a pure way. Take this chanting very seriously. That is what we need to do. Unfortunately, we are not taking it seriously enough. Speaking for myself, I think all of you, if you're honest, who can say that he's taking this process seriously enough? Who's really having full faith in the holy name? That is the last offense in the list of 10 offenses, to not have complete faith in the chanting of the holy name, and to maintain material attachments, even after hearing so many instructions on this matter. So it's the last offense mentioned, but it's probably the one that all of us are guilty of. So we have to work on that. We have to. If we really had complete faith in the holy name of the Lord, then our chanting would probably look a little different than it often does. So, why don't we have complete faith in the holy name? It means we have faith in something else. We have a certain amount of faith. Our life is based on faith. We cannot do anything without, faith. Cannot even get out of bed without having faith that the floor is not going to collapse when we put our foot on the floor. We cannot do anything without faith. So if we don't have complete faith in the holy name, that means we're still having some faith in all these material arrangements, all these fallible soldiers of the material world, as it's stated in the Bhagavatam, Sukadeva Goswami. Atma sainishu asatsu api tesam pramatanitanam. How's it go? That verse where he talks about the attached materialist who does not see how everything we have put our faith in life, we've been disappointed again and again. There's nothing that can save us from misery, from repeated birth and death in this world. Only the holy name, as Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, Nama bina kichu nohi ko aru. In all the 14 worlds, there's nothing to be had except the holy name. Do we really understand? If we don't, there's something to work on. Let us apply our intelligence to the teachings of our founder Acharya, to the teachings of the scriptures, and understand deeply that there is nothing to be had in this world except the holy name of the Lord. It is a fact, but we tend to forget. We don't have full faith. So, yeah, that's the task at hand, and if we work on that, things will move forward. And it doesn't matter if I'm a man or a woman, it's the same situation. Let's stop pointing fingers at each other and finding, fault in others. Faults are there. It's an ocean of faults. Again, another verse comes to mind which completely confirms the same point from the end of Bhagavatam. Kalya dosha nidhe rajan asti eka mahan guna. How does it? Yeah, no, that's another verse. This louder. That's another verse, but anyway, it's the same point. But Kala dosa nidhe rajan asti eka mahan. Krishna Mukta Sangha Parambrajet. Yes. It's an ocean of fault. There's only one good quality, that simply by this chanting we can actually attain not just mukti, but shelter at Krishna's lotus feet. Let's focus on that. And don't focus on all the faults. There are plenty of them. But it won't help us if we just become fault finders. The men find fault with the women find fault with the men, and in this way material life goes on. Do we want that? We should not want that. Hare Krishna. Shruti Prabhu has something to add.
You made such a good point there, because as I said something yesterday, the Varnashram Dharma teaches that each one is trying to do the duties to the others. When they're all blaming each other, then everybody gets cheated. And when we read in the verse that you read earlier, that Kaśyapa Muni was obligated to his wife. Now, obligated means like making a commitment.
Yeah.
A commitment's a pretty heavy thing. If, like the person that stole the haughty, when he's at the jail, when the judge says, you will do 3 years at the prison, he will do that. He can't say, well, I don't like that. So it indicates here that on both parts, whether it's taking the spiritual master or the husband and wife, they make a commitment to each other. And that's more important than trying to force the other one to do their duty, is to make the commitment to the spiritual master and to the other one, and then things work out much better. As you said, when we're casting the blame, then we don't get to the solution.
Yeah. When it says that he was obligated, that statement has to be qualified. Yes. Because Prabhupada says in the same purport that Haridas Thakur didn't feel obligated.
Well, he didn't make a commitment to be with a wife. That's why
Yes.
be careful, the obligation, can you really do that obligation? That's why
But
we have
was
to
he
be careful.
obligated to commit this wrongful act?
No.
No, he
No.
wasn't. He was obligated, he felt obligated.
Yes.
We should,
Yes.
correctly speaking,
No, he should be careful about what he did, but the point is that he's committed. Just like you may be committed to your children, but that doesn't mean you let them go astray or make you go astray too. The
No.
point of being obligated means that he made a commitment to take care of her.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean that he should follow
But he
her
could
down the
have
wrong
just
path.
waited, like he told his wife. He said, just wait a few moments,
Yes.
and then it's okay. He could, if he had been strong in Krishna consciousness,
Yes.
stronger in Krishna, he could have insisted, no, not now, sorry, not doing.
Yes.
He could have done that.
Because the obligation to the spiritual master has to be above the obligation to the others. That's the point there.
Yeah. The obligation to Dharma, doing the right thing. Yeah. Hare Krishna. We're supposed to end now, but I'll take one more question.
Yes, actually, there is a question somebody can ask. This is a comment.
Okay. No, it doesn't matter.
I would say that thank you for your presentation
Hare
of this
Krishna.
wonderful verse. My understanding was that the speaker has a great responsibility to be truthful, to be mature, and able to explain in such a way that you convey the message, you follow the acharyas, and it's uplifting. Every Srimad Bhagavatam is for uplifting.
So I failed miserably.
Men, women, everyone who is a devotee, because we have one goal, to go back to Godhead.
Yeah.
And sometimes I've been seeing through many years, unfortunately someone comes and with some intention in mind is to get that purport to actually just point out something that instead of being uplifting, it goes like, brings down the consciousness of the devotees. So I just wanted to say thank you very much for that mature way to do it. And keep doing it, it's good.
Hare Krishna.
Because trying to find fault, you can find fault with Krishna, and we see that.
Yeah.
Krishna himself. So what to
Shishupal
speak?
was expert, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway,
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. We end here.